Hello everyone, it's great to see you again on Merry Home. Green onions, dill, cilantro, and basil are very familiar herbs in the kitchen, and we use them almost every day. But each one has different storage methods that suit it best. In today's video, I will share with you some simple ways to keep these four herbs for longer. Some methods can be applied to several types at the same time, while others are only suitable for certain ones. We will go through each method one by one so that you can choose the most convenient option for your kitchen. Especially, if you have a lot of herbs and cannot use them all while they are still fresh, I will also show you how to divide them into smaller portions and freeze them so that when cooking, you only need to take out exactly the amount you need. Now let's get started. In front of me are green onions, dill, cilantro, and basil. The first thing I always do is inspect each bunch of herbs. Any leaves that have turned yellow, become bruised, or show signs of spoilage should be removed immediately. Do not feel reluctant to discard a few bad leaves, because when they are left together with the good herbs, the moisture and damaged parts can cause the entire bunch to lose quality more quickly. I will wash the herbs before storing them. With herbs that have many small spaces, such as cilantro and dill, handle them a little more gently so that the leaves do not become bruised. Wash away the dirt, then let the herbs drain. Which country are you watching this video from? It's wonderful that we can meet each other from all around the world. And here is one step I want you to pay special attention to. If we are going to store the herbs in containers or freeze them directly, they need to be thoroughly dry. You can spread the herbs on a clean towel or paper towels, then gently blot away the water still clinging to the leaves. Do not rush to put wet herbs into a container. It only takes a little extra time, but this step will help us control the excess moisture better. Now that the herbs are dry, let's begin storing them. Method 1. Keeping the herbs in water. The first method is very simple, and I will use it for three types: cilantro, dill, and basil. First is cilantro. I trim a little from the ends of the stems to create a fresh cut surface. Prepare a clean jar and add a moderate amount of water to the bottom. Now place the cilantro in the jar as if we were arranging a small bouquet of flowers. The important thing is to let only the lower part of the stems come into contact with the water. There is no need to add so much water that the leaves become submerged. I usually check the water in the jar regularly. If the water starts to become cloudy, replace it with clean water. Then I loosely cover the cilantro with a clean bag and place the jar in the refrigerator. Cilantro likes a cool environment, so this method is very convenient if you still want to take out fairly fresh sprigs to add to your dishes every day. Next is dill. I do almost the same thing. Trim the ends of the stems slightly, prepare a jar of clean water, and then place the dill sprigs in it. You do not need to pack too much dill into one jar. Leave a little space between the sprigs. Dill leaves are very thin and delicate, so I always try to keep the leaves above dry and let only the lower part of the stems come into contact with the water. I also place the jar of dill in the refrigerator and check the water regularly. If you only need a few sprigs to eat with fish, potatoes, eggs, or to make a sauce, simply take out the amount you need and return the rest to the refrigerator. And now, basil. Basil is where this method becomes interesting. I also trim a little from the ends of the stems, just as we trim flowers before placing them in water. Then place the basil in a jar with a little water. But this time, I do not put the jar of basil in the refrigerator. I place it on the kitchen counter, in a cool place away from direct sunlight. Basil is quite sensitive to cold temperatures. If you have ever put a beautiful bunch of basil in the refrigerator and then notice dark patches quickly appearing on the leaves, this may be the reason. Method 2. Paper towels and storage containers. The second method will be used for green onions, dill, and cilantro. I have washed all three types, and most importantly, dried them thoroughly. Prepare a clean container. I place a layer of paper towel at the bottom. For green onions, I can leave the stalks whole if the container is long enough. If the container is small, simply cut the green onions into 2 or 3 sections so that they fit inside. I gently arrange the green onions on top of the paper towel without packing them too tightly. Green onions contain quite a lot of moisture, so if I notice that the paper underneath becomes too damp during storage, I will replace it with a new sheet of paper towel. Then close the container and place it in the refrigerator. This method is very convenient if you still want the green onions to keep their original shape so that you can later cut them according to the dish you're cooking. For dill, I also place a layer of paper towel at the bottom and then spread the dill sprigs on top. Do not press the dill down. Dill leaves are very soft, and if we pack a large bunch into a small container, the parts underneath can easily become bruised. I can place another sheet of paper towel on top to absorb the excess moisture before closing the container. Cilantro is stored in the same way. Gently arrange the cilantro in the container lined with paper towel. If you buy a very large bunch, instead of packing everything into one container, divide it between two smaller containers. Giving the herbs a little space is better than pressing them into one tightly packed mass. During storage, open the container occasionally and check the herbs. If a few leaves begin to turn yellow or spoil, remove them. If the paper towel has become too damp, replace it with a new one. This method is not complicated, but it is very convenient for herbs that you plan to use fresh over the next few days. Method 3: Chopping and freezing. Now suppose you have bought too many herbs and know for sure that you will not be able to use them all while they are still fresh. At this point, we move to the freezer. For the third method, I use green onions, dill, and cilantro. I do not use basil for this method. I will save the basil for the final method. I will start with the green onions. Cut off the parts you do not use, then chop the green onions to the size you normally use when cooking. I chop both the white and green parts. Always make sure the green onions are thoroughly dry and have no excess water on them. Place the chopped green onions in a container or bag suitable for the freezer. If using a bag, I spread the green onions into a relatively thin layer and press out some of the air before sealing it. This makes things very convenient later. When making soup, eggs, rice, noodles, or other hot dishes, I simply take out the amount I need. The same goes for dill. Once the dill is dry, I chop it to the size I normally use. Have you subscribed to my channel yet? If not, you can click the subscribe button to support me. Place it in a container or bag, spread it into a relatively thin layer, and then freeze it. When I need to cook fish, soup, potatoes, eggs, or make a hot sauce, I can take out a small amount directly from the freezer. For cilantro, I chop the leaves and tender stems into small pieces. I like to keep the tender stems because they also have a lot of aroma. After chopping, place the cilantro in a container or bag, seal it tightly, and put it in the freezer. There is one thing you need to know before using this method. After freezing, herbs will no longer have the same crispness and attractive appearance as when they are fresh. Therefore, I do not use them to garnish dishes and expect them to look like freshly cut herbs. I use them for dishes that will be cooked, such as soup, stew, eggs, sauces, or other hot dishes. And when using them, I usually take the herbs directly from the freezer and add them to the dish instead of leaving the entire container of herbs on the counter to thaw. Method 4: Freezing herbs in an ice cube tray. And the final method is probably the most fun one in today's video, because this time all 4 herbs can be used. First, we prepare a clean ice cube tray. I chop the green onions and place a moderate amount into each compartment. There is no need to pack them too full. The same goes for dill. You can make several trays depending on your needs. Cilantro is the same as well. Chop it into small pieces and divide it among the compartments. Now add just enough clean water to each compartment of the ice cube tray. Can you tell the different herbs apart? It's not difficult, is it? Each cube should contain about the amount of herbs your family normally uses for one dish. Doing this will make things much more convenient later. Finally, basil. I separate the leaves, chop or cut them into small pieces, and place them in the tray. Add a little water and press the leaves down. If you do not want to chop the basil too finely, simply tear the leaves into a few pieces. Now I place everything in the freezer. Once the herb cubes are frozen solid, I remove them from the tray and transfer each type into a separate bag or container. And remember to label them on the outside. Once everything is frozen, a dill cube and a cilantro cube may look more alike than you think. Herb cubes like these are very convenient for soup, stew, curry, sauces, or any hot dish that has liquid added during cooking. Simply take out 1 or 2 cubes and drop them directly into the pot. The ice will melt and the herbs will go straight into the dish. This method also solves a problem I often have. There is only a little of each herb left in the refrigerator, too little to make a separate dish but still too much to throw away. Instead of letting them gradually wilt, I chop them, place them in an ice cube tray, and turn them into small portions ready for the next time I cook. I hope today's little tips will help you make better use of the herbs in your kitchen and reduce the amount of food you have to throw away simply because you did not have time to use it all. Of the 4 herbs today, green onions, dill, cilantro, and basil, which one do you use the most? Please share with me in the comments. And if you have a way of storing herbs that your family has used for many years, I would also love to learn from you. Thank you for spending your time here with Mary Home. See you in the next video.